Welcome to YG Roundtable, built by Max Weiss and sponsored by Health Payment Systems. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss an episode, and look out for our new podcast of this show. YG Roundtable brings together leaders and subject matter experts for a conversation on issues important to the business community. Today, we're talking about wellness for entrepreneurs. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, my name is Madison Wargowsky, and I am the team lead and personal trainer at Fitness Together in Wauwatosa.
Hi, my name is Cyrina Talbott. I'm with the Mindset Transformation Company, and I help business owners overcome overwhelm.
This one hits so close to home. Health and wellness for entrepreneurs. We've got two experts with us today to talk about health and wellness for entrepreneurs, to help us stay on track with our business, but also stay on track with our personal life. And we'll start with you, Cyrina. As we talk about this particular topic, I think it's easy for people to think, this show is going to be all about veggies and treadmills. But that's not really what it's all about. Where do you start from your area of expertise when you hear the phrase health and wellness for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, for me, it's really energy levels. And, as entrepreneurs, we have to exert a certain amount of energy all the time. And, we're selling and we're showing up and we're connecting with people and we're doing our work, behind the scenes that people don't see. And the main way that you can succeed and enjoy yourself along the way and not burn out is to pay attention to those energy levels. And to me, we're swimming in like a burnout culture that's just push, 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 and go, 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 and ignore like kind of the warning signs. Ignore your body, just push yourself. Don't pay attention to kind of signals that we're getting that are telling us to slow down or telling us to take a break. And we just say, okay, we're just gonna push until we make a certain amount of money or until we have a certain level of success. And so people burn out. We have a burnout culture. Like, that's how Americans do business, and it's nuts. But that's what we do. And it would be like driving your vehicle and never doing the maintenance and, driving around with a flat tire. Like, we wouldn't do it. We kind of treat our vehicles sometimes better than ourselves as we have this idea. And I say we're swimming in it because it's the idea, well, if I don't, I'm gonna get behind. If I don't, I'm gonna miss a sale. If I don't, work the extra hours and say yes to that opportunity, then I'm not going to get there. And the irony and the crazy thing is when you start paying attention to your energy levels and you start saying no and you start having more fun and resting, you can actually be more successful because it's more sustainable. Just like you take the time to take care of your vehicle, it's going to go farther.
Now, Madison, I want to ask about maintaining those energy levels through physical fitness and diet, but I want to ask a follow-up question on energy in general. It's easy for us to keep track of the dollars coming in or the hits on our website or the sales conversations that we have, but measuring those energy levels, that's not a currency that we often hear a lot of paying attention to our own personal energy. How would you define that? Just that will to keep pushing forward? Is it that simple?
Yeah, it's paying attention to cues that we're getting, like that we are exhausted. A lot of times we're getting cues. When I work with people who are burnt out, they're like, oh yeah, this happened and I just kept going. Or this happened and I didn't pay attention. You may be feeling it in your body, you may be getting physically sick, you may be kind of crashing and then being able to work again, just stopping long enough to refuel and start the whole thing over. People, they notice the cues are in our body, and they're also in our relationships, and they're also in our anxiety levels and how we're sleeping. We get all these things, but that's what I'm saying, that culture is, ignore all that stuff, just keep going.
Yeah, keep going, keep driving. Yeah. Hustle and grind, is that what the phrase is? Makes me crazy. So Madison, let's talk to you. Does that make sense to you from a trainer standpoint, this concept of the currency of your personal energy? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, definitely. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm really tired, I shouldn't, work out, I don't want to exert myself even more than I already am. But exercising actually will help you sleep better, it'll help you think clearer, you're gonna produce more serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So all in all, it actually will help improve your sleep quality and increase your energy levels, even though you're maybe expending more energy, but in the long run, you're gonna have a really good payout, which as an entrepreneur, that's kind of the whole idea, to see the results. So
I'm already unhappy with this show because you're shooting down my big excuse that I'm too tired to exercise. Are you telling me that that's a load of crap, that we can actually exercise even when we're tired?
Yes, especially because a lot of times it's more mental energy that we're spending, not even that physical energy. So we have a lot more that we can do, and it will just help you, like I said, clear your mind too. So that will even give more energy for that area as well.
So if someone's tuning in and they know that they've been driving their business but not taking care of themselves, as a trainer at Fitness Together, where do you start? How do you start the conversation and get someone on the path to health and wellness?
Just with the conversation, really, it's about rebuilding rapport with somebody and really getting to know them and showing that you are genuinely interested in them and getting them to reach those goals that they want, and then just understanding where they're coming from, what they want out of this, and then just really having that foundation and then setting up a plan. All right, this is how we're going to do it, this is what we need to do, and then executing that plan.
Do you find that entrepreneurs gravitate to that concept because it feels like a business plan? Like, yes. Oh, this is my program. Like, does that make sense to them?
100%, and having a time and a schedule as well helps too.
And what if someone's calling you saying, yeah, I got a meeting, I can't come in? Like, how do you tolerate their excuses? Because I really need to know what kind of excuses I can use, because you've already told me I'm tired, I can't come in, won't work.
Yeah, no, I definitely will give them a very hard time about it, and I will be adamant about rescheduling if it does seem like a real reason they can't come in. I'm like, all right, well, I have this opening, we're gonna make this happen and get them in as much as possible, so.
And to go back to what Cyrina said earlier, it's about priorities, because there are always things to do when you're trying to build a company or build a business. But why do we put ourselves last? Why do we put ourselves last in all of these priorities?
Well, I think it's because it's been the culture, and it's been what we've seen, and it's really this idea that we can ask a different question. We're not asking the question, how do I enjoy this process? How do I run a business and reach my goals and have energy and be healthy and have good relationships? We haven't been asking that question enough. And what we do is we go, well, I can't. I just have to hustle. Like, I just have to work. You can't do that. I don't have time. I'm too tired, And we have to shift and say, hey, we can. So then experiment and get curious about how. Like, we have to shift the mindset from this is the only way to do it to, kind of kill yourself, to there is a very much more healthy way and balanced way, and there are lots of examples of it, or lots of people learn, through bad experiences where they do totally burn themselves out. I mean, that's my story. And you learn, okay, that isn't gonna work. But there is a way where you take care of your body, you take care of your relationships, you take care of your mental health, and you succeed. It's just understanding that's actually a possibility. I think some people don't know that that's a possibility.
I want to hear your story, but I also want to ask about, we're just getting started. Let's take a quick break and come back for more with Cyrina and Madison. This episode of YG Roundtable, built by Max Weiss, is sponsored by Health Payment Systems.
Max Weiss is a company that does it right the first time. A company that sets the curve in excellence. Rolled, curved, formed, forged, fabricated. A company that delivers on time. A company that drives innovation forward. A company that has satisfied customers for over 75 years. Anything metal, Max Weiss Company. Call or visit us online to learn more about Max Weiss Company.
For more than 80% of families, today's medical billing practices are confusing. At HPS, our goal is to improve the healthcare experience for the patient by making medical bill payments less stressful. In Wisconsin, that's all made possible by our comprehensive independent healthcare provider network. We simplify billing and lower costs for everyone involved in healthcare and offer various ways for individuals to pay without breaking the bank.
The word balance. Is that a uniquely American phrase to say work-life balance or health and wellness and my business balance, or even the concept that they have to be balanced? I mean, should they be balanced? Shouldn't I take care of myself more than I take care of my business?
So that's an awesome question. So a few things. We can't really be balanced. I feel like I'm sitting up here like I have it all figured out. Like I don't know. Like I totally screw this up all the time. And to me, it's a scale. You're kind of tipping either way. I think we tend to tip toward overwork and then we back off. I mean, that's how I do it in my own life. So it's not American. Germany has a fabulous work-life balance. The average worker, you had mentioned something on one of your social media posts, like, can we have a less shorter work week? Well, Germany does. They have 36 hours, and that's their employees. So that's more their culture, because we all know, as self-employed, we tend to just blow past 40 hours, but their culture is different, where they value taking time off. So Germans live 2 years longer than the average American.
Wow.
So I would say we're behind in work-life balance compared to other countries, but this is a really hot topic and it's really wonderful, and we've seen enough people succeed and not have their health left and not have their relationships left that we're like, okay, we need to do something different. So I think that answered the question.
Oh, for sure. So let me hear your story about burnout, because you sound like you have experience with hitting the wall proper. Can you share that?
Yeah. So I totally used to believe that, you just work, and this idea that it's just for 6 months. You're starting a business, you just have to kill yourself for 6 months. Then it turns into a year. Then it turns into 3 years. I just got to do this. I just got to work. I just got to say yes. I just got to answer this phone call. I just got to send this email. I was totally in that. And so that was a few things. That was thinking that that's the way you had to work, because that's what we see around us. But it was also the mental aspect of the things we tell ourselves when we're not working. Maybe I'm going to miss something. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not going to succeed. And so for me, a lot of the driving force there, and this is why it's important to think about how you're thinking about success, was I need to prove my worth. It wasn't just the job. It was if my business succeeds, I succeed. And those were intertwined. And when people drive themselves to burnout, they're usually intertwined. And so that's what I did. I ran a business for 5 years, and it was a homeless shelter, so it was a nonprofit, so it was open 24 hours. So I would answer the phone at 3 a.m. if there was a problem. My youngest daughter was born a year and a half in, and I went, and we had volunteers, and someone didn't show up, and so my daughter was 2 days old, and I showed up. Because that's what you do. You just work, and I so badly wanted it to succeed that I was just setting those things aside and telling myself it'll get better. I can do this now, it'll get better. I'll just have my relationships. My kids hated my phone. It's just temporary. And it was 5 years, and it didn't get any better. So it's all of those things. It's our mental health, it's our physical health, and it's paying attention to that. And then, understanding that just pushing yourself isn't working. And for me, at the end, I was absolutely spent. I was 100%. You get to the point where your body, you can push for so long and your body's like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. And you just hit a wall. And a lot of people they'll get depressed, or they'll get sick, or, those kinds of things. And so, yeah.
Right now, someone's watching this and they're feeling like that. They're feeling burned out, and they know that they need to make a change. So from a physical standpoint, I'm sure you've dealt with people that are in that situation. What drives the physical feeling? Are they not getting enough rest? Are they dehydrated? Are they eating bad food? Or they haven't moved enough? Or is it just, yes, all of those things?
I think it's definitely a combination of all of those, and
Yeah.
depending on the individual for sure, and everybody kind of has something different that contributes to that fatigue and that burnout. So yes.
Yeah, so let's talk about just the blanket prescription. If someone's a high achieving, hard driving entrepreneur, they're working more than 40 hours a week for sure, what are the best practices as far as water consumption and sleep and those sorts of things? Can you give us just like a blanket, hey, you should be doing these things, and then we can start about building other good habits too?
Well, obviously drinking plenty of water, that's very important. So just always having water with you. One tip that I give a lot of clients is having a cup or a water bottle with a straw. A lot of people always say, I drink a lot more water when I have that. So that's a great tip that I always give lots of clients. Also just walking and just being active, because exercise is literally specialized or put together physical activity. So just moving, getting out walking, playing with your kids, playing with your dog, something like that. Just setting aside that time to move. Our bodies are meant to move. As humans, we've always moved throughout history, and we have a very sedentary lifestyle now. So just move, let your body move and clear your head, get some fresh air. All of that, I think, is a really great start.
You bring up movement, so I kind of have to ask, is sitting really the new smoking? Is it really that bad?
Yeah, there's actually been research that shows individuals who practice high intensity exercise and smoke have a longer life expectancy than a person who's sedentary and doesn't smoke. So,
wow.
Yeah, so it really shows that exercise is medicine, and it really can have these great impacts on your overall health. And sedentary lifestyle is just, as humans, we're not supposed to do that. It doesn't have to be this crazy exercise routine, but just moving is very important.
Getting moving, drinking water, resting.
Yes.
Those are things we can do without coming to a trainer. But when we get to a trainer and we want to start taking it seriously, where do you start people? What are the first things that you need to do when someone walks in saying, I'm burned out, I can't do this anymore, I need to make a change? Where do you start?
I just say, what have you been doing lately? What's your day-to-day look like? Ask about their nutrition as well, about any injuries that they might have, and then I say, all right, after we have a long conversation, we kind of go out, we do a little bit of a workout, see kind of how they move, what they like, all of that, and then talk about goals, and just keep moving forward with that, and then set up a plan and execute that plan.
I would imagine if someone's like me, not saying that I have this problem, but I do, we like to be good at things. We like to build successful businesses. We like to achieve goals. But if we've been ignoring our health, coming to see someone like you, while delightful and kind, would be crazy intimidating. All right, do 100 push-ups. I can't do 100 push-ups. What are you talking about? Do you find that with entrepreneurs that they want to be really good and that stops them from starting a wellness journey?
Yes, I have a lot of clients, whether they are entrepreneurs or not, who are just, they come in, and if I ask them to do an exercise, demonstrate it, and they just can't get it, they get very frustrated. And then it's a learning process, just like everything in life. You're not going to get it right away. And so it's just being, empathetic and talking them through it and finding different ways, unique ways of how to show an exercise, or being, okay, let's change it up, let's start it this way and do that and work our way up. It's just about that communication and just helping them feel comfortable with you, so that if they don't succeed right away, or what their perception of what succeeding should be right away is just letting them know that it's okay, and that we're there together and we're going to get you those results one way or another, but this is just a starting point. So
you mentioned intensity. Someone walks in the treadmill slowly 5 or 6 days a week, or is doing higher intensity a couple of times a week. I'm curious about what the prevailing school of thought is and what you believe in. Are they different? Do you get different results? What do you tend to prescribe to people?
It depends what your goals are. So lower intensity for long duration, so walking for a longer time actually burns more fat. You use fat for fuel during those exercises. So if you have a weight loss goal, I would say that's a good way to burn fat. But the higher intensity is really good for cardiovascular endurance, just burning calories, or if you have a shorter period of time. But again, it depends on your activity level, injuries, what your goals are. So it is very personalized for the person.
And it's different from person to person, but going on a walk or walking on the treadmill, you mentioned walking for a longer period of time. Can you put a number on that? Are you talking 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour? What do you consider a longer time in that scenario?
It would depend. When I think I would say about an hour, but if you don't have an hour, just starting somewhere, doing something is always good. I don't want someone to be like, oh, I can't do an hour and think that that's bad if they don't get an hour in. But that's, I would say, a long time.
Very cool. I want to ask about one more fad. Walking desks, standing desks. Does that really have an impact if you're walking at 1 mile an hour all day while you're doing your work? Is that a thing?
It can. I mean, it definitely gets you from this sitting position, because this can cause a lot of muscular imbalances in your hips and things like that. But just standing there also, because a lot of times people, it's same with sitting, if your posture is poor, people will stand and tend to stand on one leg, and that causes also some muscular imbalances as well. So it's not necessarily better. It depends also how you're standing, what you're doing. So I don't think one's necessarily better than the other.
That's great. Thank you for that. So it's, I think, easier for us to picture, here's my workout routine. Here's how I move. Here's how I lift heavy things. Here's how I get my cardiovascular usage up. But I want to come to you, Cyrina, and talk about what are some mental health and wellness best practices that you would recommend for people to help them get through the day with a clearer mind and keep their energy up, in addition to moving, as Madison mentioned. So what do you tell people to do on a daily basis to keep themselves sharp and alert?
Well, the first thing is to just start thinking about it differently, that this time I spend taking care of myself is similar to if I was going to take care of a vehicle, then I'm going to last longer, I'm going to have more energy, and I'm going to succeed more. So that's always what I say, that we're more successful the more we rest, the more we spend time with our family, like switching how you're thinking about it. So it's not like, oh, I have to do this, like having it be like, this is part of success. It's all part of it. They're not separate. You're not like working and then doing this thing for you and then, working out and then resting. Like it's all you and maintaining your ability to have energy levels you need to succeed. So that's the best thing to do, is just shift how you're thinking about it and be aware that, like, in general, everything around us is just telling us to like hustle and grind, and it's not good for us. That's number one. Number two is I really encourage meditating, which like I know a lot of people hate and they're like, I can't do that and it doesn't work, but there's a ton of scientific studies saying that meditation helps us again release the serotonin and those good chemicals, and it helps us to be able to respond instead of just reacting to things. It helps us be able to process our emotions so we're not like anxious. It helps with all of that. So I encourage people to meditate, and like there's a billion videos on YouTube, like keep practicing it. And again, like a lot of people are like, oh, I want balance. Like I want to work with you 3 months and have balance. Like it's a thing you can get. And it's like, no, this is going to be something you experiment with. So having that attitude, like I'm going to experiment with trying one different thing this week, not 20. Like don't just cut your calendar in half and be home and like go nuts, because you're so drastically changing it. But introduce these things, ask questions like, how can I do this in a more relaxed way? How can I take care of myself as I'm doing these things? So it's shifting how you're thinking, absolutely meditating, and then pay attention to what you're thinking. Pay attention to how you're talking in your head. Pay attention to how your energy level is each day. Pay attention to this body that we're walking around in all day, and it's giving us cues. Like pay attention to the days you had lots of energy. What were you saying? What were you doing? What were you thinking? Pay attention to the days you didn't have energy and you felt like crap. What were you saying? What were you thinking? What were you doing? And you'll figure out patterns in your own life of the things that make you feel good. Exercise is a no-brainer. Like absolutely, we have to do that. And do things that give you energy, things you enjoy, and pay attention. It's really like, there's not like a prescription, like everybody work out high intensity or everybody walk an hour. One person's gonna go for one person's gonna go for the other, and they're gonna feel fabulous. One person's gonna sit and read books, and that's gonna nourish their soul, and one person's gonna go out to a gathering after COVID, but a gathering, and that's going to nourish them. Like it's really paying attention to this body that you're in and your mind and how it's thinking. So is that like vague or is that okay?
No, it's fantastic. There's a lot there, so I'm going to follow up. First of all, If we've got mantras and things we're telling ourselves, you're saying that works. That's the type of thing we should be thinking about to make sure our mindset is reinforcing the things that we want out of life. You would recommend that? Mm-hmm. So give us an example of what a mantra or some sort of mindset reminder or cue might be.
Yeah, so pay attention to the ones that may be there already. Like, if I don't do this, I'm going to miss out, or I'm going to lose money, or whatever. Pay attention to those. And then the main one that I share with clients and people is, I am enough. And it's really powerful to say, I am enough. That means I'm enough to do whatever I need to do today. I'm enough to come and meet any challenge. And I'm also enough to accept a opportunity. So I'm enough, and I'm valuable. And your mind doesn't argue with that, because if you're like, I'm a rock star and I'm fabulous, your mind's like, whatever. So when you say I'm enough, it's very powerful. And the other thing is, what I say in my own life, because I have 4 kids, and at one point in my life, like, I neglected them and they hated my phone and I was all about my business, is I say, when I hang out with my kids, that helps me succeed in my business. When I rest on the weekends and I stick my phone somewhere, that helps me succeed in my business. Those are things I say to my specific situation that help me, understand that, like you said, when you're tired, it's not exactly the first thing you think of, like, I'm gonna go spend energy exercising, but it gives you energy. And when you have 3 goals in your business and you haven't reached them, it might be counterintuitive to rest, but it's actually going to help you get there.
So the second question, I got lots of follow-ups. The second question is about meditation. So there's a lot of folks that talk about meditation, and it serves a lot of folks as well. If someone hasn't taken it up as a practice, what are the benefits that come when you are practicing in it? Almost at any level. You talk about perspective and presence. Are those like the 2 biggest things that come out of meditation?
They now that they have the science to hook us up to machines and measure, they can actually measure your stress, your cortisol levels, like before and after meditation, it goes down. So if you have any anxiety at all in your life, which who doesn't, it actually lowers it. And I recommend people do, there's an app called Insight Timer, but even like a 5-minute or 3-minute guided meditation on YouTube, like, it doesn't have to be silent. The other thing is, your mind is just going to think. A lot of people think, well, I can't meditate, I can't quiet your mind. Your mind's just gonna think, it's fine. Like, it's not a big deal. We can learn how to do this, and we can succeed at it. So that's my recommendation. So the decreasing stress are the main things. It helps you think better. A lot of times people get, and I know we've had this conversation before, when you want to be creative and you want to be kind of on your game and you want to be in the marketplace, having new ideas and those kinds of things. When we meditate, when we quiet our mind, when we exercise, when we rest, we think better. So that's a really major benefit to it as well. Especially as an entrepreneur, we have to be creative. We have to be thinking. We can't be like spent and fried and be who we want to be in the marketplace. So those would be 2 benefits.
My next question, I don't think I want to know the answer to, but I'm going to ask anyway for selfish reasons. So what we put in our mind helps us perform better mentally. What we put in our body helps us perform physically. Is diet really that important?
Yes, just like we were talking about with vehicles, what kind of fuel we put into it, or we take care of them better than we do our own bodies. That's how it fuels us, how we get through the day, and it helps all different aspects of your health, not just your physical fitness, but also mental and emotional as well. So we definitely need to be putting proper fuel in our body, food, to live our best lives and be healthy in all aspects.
There are so many different books, websites, plans that people have out there. In general, what do you tell people to do if they're trying to eat better?
It really depends on the person, because everybody has different goals and maybe diet restrictions or things like that. But the biggest thing that I tell them to do is just look for foods that are natural, not man-made. So sticking to the outside aisles with the fruits, vegetable, or outside border of the grocery store, excuse me. So fruits, vegetables, meat, if you consume meat, things like that, versus avoiding the center aisles, because there's a lot of processed foods with artificial chemicals and things like that, and a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
because sugar is cheap and it makes things taste good. And so there's a lot of hidden sugar in products. And so trying to stay away from those and avoid those is the first thing that I usually recommend to clients.
Got it. So what is your stance on Twinkies? I really need to know this. This is important for me. I'm kidding. They're bad. They have a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
What about just the training regimen in general? Some people are resistant to strength training. Like they think, oh, I shouldn't lift weights because maybe I'm a woman and I don't want to get bulky, or I'm a guy and I'm too old for that. Like, where does strength training fall into the prescription that you have for people?
Every client that I have does some sort of it. What intensity that is depends on the individual, again, goals, like I've mentioned 100 times.
Right.
But it's very important because it helps our muscle mass or strength, which is important for doing everyday tasks, our bone density, which is important, especially as we age through life. Tendon density, tendons are what attach the muscles to the bones. Women, once they go through menopause, their estrogen levels drop, and estrogen is extremely important in the building back up of our bones. Our bones are constantly breaking down, building back up. And so when that estrogen level drops, the women's bones are more likely to develop osteoporosis. So it's extremely important for them, but also for men as well, because we want to be able to do things as we go through life. A lot of us are very independent people. We want to stay independent. And so it's just important for that overall health. So strength training, and a lot of research indicates that strength training is just one of the best forms. It encompasses cardio as well, because it gets your heart rate up as well. So it's just extremely important for everybody to do.
So if someone wants to take action and come see you, they can get proper training with proper equipment. Mm-hmm. But if someone's watching and they're a busy entrepreneur and they just need to start incorporating some strength training in their life, do push-ups at home and sit-ups and squats, is that helpful?
Absolutely. Push-ups are just one of the best exercises you could do. It's very simple. It's pretty much a full body exercise, really. But it's just starting somewhere and doing those movements, because body weight, there is still resistance in those body weight movements. And I mean, how many times do you actually squat throughout like a typical day? Probably not very often. So if you add that into your routine, just simple little steps are really going to create those long-lasting habits.
For some of us, there's more body weight than others, so that's good. So I have very effective push-ups right now, which is fantastic. As we get down to the finish line here on the episode, Cyrina, I want to ask you, can you tell us about someone who shifted their mindset and took on their health and wellness and had a success story? Because if someone's feeling like, well, health and wellness just isn't for me, I'll just build my business and this is just who I am now. Like, give us an example of someone that turned it around, because I want to show some optimism and hope for someone if they're not where they need to be right now, that they can get back on the right track.
Yeah, I had a client early in 2020. I met with her before things shut down, and then soon after when we got shut down, and from the pandemic and everything, she completely burned out. So what that meant for her was she's like, when she was meeting with clients, she's like, I can't think straight, and she was super anxious all the time, and it was like her body was just saying no. Like, your body can just get to the point where it says, I'm done. And that's more extreme, but that's what happened with her. And I asked her, I said, when's the last time you took a day off? It was like 4 months. And that doesn't mean like a vacation. It means a day off work, a day without working. And so her process was, the main reason for getting into burnout was just, I'm going to push, and she wasn't listening to her body at all, and she obviously had gotten some warning signs along the way that she had ignored. So it was restoring that ability to listen to your body and honor your body. And I told her constantly, this is really powerful work you're doing to rest. And so she took the rest that she needed, which really to me, it's a mindset shift, but it's really brave as well, to like rest when there's work to be done. So I walked with her through that. So she rested, and then building up, her energy levels got back up, and getting to the place where now, as she's working with balance. She's listening to her body. And I really believe as we do that, we get more opportunities, because we're thinking better, we're creative, we're open to things. She also worked on the mindset shifts. I'm valuable, I'm enough on the days I'm not working. I'm enough on my way to my goals, not waiting, saying, oh, I'll be enough when I get there. Like, I'm enough on my way. And as she did that, a lot of opportunities came for her again as she was coming out of that and really stepping into work again full time. She was able to work differently and enjoyed her work better, felt better about herself, and knew that she could listen to her body from now on, and anytime she needed to adjust, she could. Without me. That was the goal, that she could understand how this whole thing works. It's the same with our physical health. A lot of times we're ignoring this whole section, and when you can get the understanding of how it works, you can make it work for you, and that's really what we did.
And that's a true success story. An entrepreneur that realized that they were burned out, turned it around, and now they're in control. That's fantastic to hear. So Madison, think of an entrepreneur that you worked with that maybe had hit the wall, came to you at ground zero, and you watched them grow. Can you share a story?
Yes, so I have a client who, she's a young entrepreneur. She has lots of businesses. She's extremely busy. Every time I hear her schedule, I don't understand. I get stressed out just thinking about her schedule. And she was a client. She took some time off and then realized, I need to make this a priority again. I was really reaping the benefits and I want to get back into it. So she came in, we talked, and she started up again. And she recently told me how her physical health has improved so much, but also her mental and emotional health too. And so again, it's not just about physical health with exercising. And it's helped her to, again, a clearer mind, so she's more focused. It's also, she has the time set aside for this, so it actually helps structure her schedule even better. And working with the trainer has helped because it's almost kind of like a therapist in a way. She can kind of come in and talk through some of these things and has that time where she doesn't have to think about work either. And we can just talk about anything and everything as well. And so she said it's just really helped, especially with this past year, how crazy it's been. She said it was just a really great outlet from work, and has just really, as personally and professionally, has grown and has seen those results in these last 6-7 months.
That's great. And this has been an enlightening episode about taking care of your body, taking care of your mind, and it will help build your business and make you more successful. Cyrina, Madison, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks to Cyrina and Madison for sitting down on YG Roundtable, built by Max Weiss and sponsored by Health Payment Systems. YG Roundtable is YG TV's place to explore issues facing the business community and learn from subject matter experts who stand out in their field. If you've got an idea for an episode or you'd like to appear as a panelist, drop us a note on our website, younggunsmovement.com. And for more great content shaking up the business industry, subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow our podcast so you don't miss a single episode. I'm your host, Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. A big thanks to our panel, Cyrina and Madison. We'll see you next time.